The Rowan family's duplex house stood silently at the outskirts of a quaint town near Boston, its aged wooden walls whispering secrets from decades of bracing the harsh Massachusetts winters. Snowflakes drifted lazily from a gray sky, coating the world in a delicate, deceptive calm. In an upstairs bedroom, Kaela Rowan stood by the frosted window pane, eyes fixed thoughtfully on the snow-covered landscape. Her chestnut-brown hair fell softly around her shoulders, but her dark eyes betrayed exhaustion shadowed by quiet resolve. She'd returned home only moments earlier, tired from another demanding shift at the local general hospital where she served diligently as a pharmacist. "Kaela, dinner's ready," came her mother's sharp voice from downstairs, precise and commanding as always. "Coming, Mom," Kaela answered softly, snapping shut the laptop on her desk. The screen went dark, hiding the image of the small, cozy home she had secretly yearned for. 10 years of disciplined saving had brought her to this point, a dream finally within reach. Tomorrow, she'd be meeting with Mr. Callan, the real estate agent, to finalize the paperwork and claim the life she'd always envisioned. Descending the staircase, Kaela fought to quell the anxious fluttering in her stomach. Her father, Gideon Rowan, was already seated at the dinner table, newspaper neatly folded beside him, his expression neutral as always. He eyed the casserole dish Vivian Rowan, his wife, had precisely positioned in the center of the table. Gideon, retired after a lifetime at the same insurance firm, had long ago mastered the art of quiet acquiescence, especially when it came to Vivian. "You're late again," Vivian remarked, her tone cool as Kaela took her place. "I had some paperwork to finish," Kaela explained quietly, knowing her mother would not appreciate excuses. Across the table, her younger sister Sienna looked up with a cheerful wave. "Hey, Kaela, long day at work?" Her soft blonde curls bounced slightly, catching the dim dining room light. Kayla's gaze shifted momentarily, noticing the unmistakable gleam of an engagement ring on Sienna's finger. The sparkling diamond seemed to mock her own solitary status, silently emphasizing the family's expectations and unspoken judgments. Kaela felt her throat tighten, but she masked her emotions behind a faint smile, preparing herself for another evening navigating the minefield of family expectations. Kayla's eyes lingered momentarily on the engagement ring sparkling brilliantly on Sienna's finger, a symbol of the life her sister was effortlessly stepping into with her fiancé, Darian Voss. "How are the wedding plans going?" Kaela asked casually, doing her best to mask the subtle ache she felt inside. Sienna's face immediately brightened with excitement. "I have a dress fitting next week. You're coming, right?" "Of course," Kaela responded softly, managing a gentle smile. Before their conversation could continue, Vivian abruptly interjected while ladling steaming soup into their bowls. "Sienna's wedding will be the proudest moment in this family," Vivian declared firmly, her eyes glinting with ambition. "The church, the reception, the dress, everything must be flawless." Kaela nodded quietly, tasting the soup without truly savoring it. For months, every family meal had revolved entirely around the wedding. Her mother had repeatedly called it our moment of glory, overshadowing everything else. "When will you start taking your life seriously, Kaela?" Vivian suddenly demanded, her tone piercingly sharp. Kaela paused, feeling her pulse quicken. "What do you mean? I am taking my life seriously. You're 34, still unmarried, still living under our roof. Look at Sienna. She's building a real future," Vivian replied bluntly, without blinking. "Vivian," Gideon gently interjected, sensing tension. "Let her be." His wife ignored him entirely. "I just want her to find happiness. A woman can only truly be happy once she's married with a family." Kaela swallowed hard, forcing herself to remain calm. Her entire life had been built around pleasing her family, good grades, a reputable job, never causing trouble. Yet somehow, it was never enough. "Sis is a career woman," Sienna added softly, attempting to lighten the atmosphere. "Maybe you'll meet someone nice at the wedding." Kaela managed a weak smile, unwilling to argue. Tomorrow would bring a seismic change to her life. She would finalize her home purchase and begin to step into her own future. Still, the mere thought of sharing this news with her family filled her with dread. "I'll be leaving work early tomorrow," Kaela suddenly announced, pushing her bowl away slightly. "I have something important to handle." Vivian frowned, suspicion evident. "Overtime again." You work too much. No, Kaela said evenly, her voice resolute. Just something personal. The room fell silent, each family member absorbed in their own thoughts. Kaela continued eating, eyes focused intently on her bowl, determined not to reveal the turmoil brewing within her. She had always been the obedient daughter, the selfless one who quietly sacrificed her dreams. But those days were coming to an end. Later, alone in her room, Kaela sat on the edge of her bed, clutching a small keychain in her hand. It held a delicate silver tree, a symbol of strength, growth, and independence. She had purchased it years earlier, carefully waiting for the right moment. Tomorrow, that moment would finally arrive. Turning off the lamp, she lay quietly in the dark, listening to the comforting hum of the old radiator. Her chest tightened with anticipation and fear. She reminded herself this dream belonged entirely to her. It was finally time to choose herself. Herself. The following morning, Kaela navigated her hospital shift with a calm, yet focused determination. As she methodically sorted prescriptions, Zara, her close coworker, approached, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. "Today's the big day, right?" Zara asked warmly, handing Kaela one of the mugs. Kaela nodded, a nervous smile forming. "It still doesn't quite feel real. You've been working toward this for a decade," Zara reminded her gently. "You've earned it." "I know," Kaela replied softly, sipping her coffee. "But it's terrifying. I've never made such a significant decision solely for myself. Every step I've taken has always been with my family's expectations in mind." Zara leaned against the counter, giving her friend a reassuring smile. "Then it's about time you started prioritizing yourself. This house will be your sanctuary, I'm sure of it." Kaela smiled gratefully, feeling the comfort of Zara's support. The house she had chosen was a charming, single-story home just 15 minutes away from the hospital. It had everything she dreamed of: a bright kitchen bathed in sunlight, a quaint front yard, and a cozy bay window ideal for reading on rainy afternoons. That afternoon, Kaela stepped into the real estate office, her pulse quickening with anticipation. "Ms. Rowan, welcome," greeted Mr. Callan, the tall real estate agent. "Everything's ready for you. Just your signature, and the house is yours." Kaela sat down, her hands trembling slightly as she meticulously read through every line of the contract, ensuring every detail was perfect. Finally, with a deep breath, she signed her name, solidifying years of dreams and quiet sacrifices. "Congratulations," Mr. Callan said warmly, handing her a small brass key. "Officially, the house is yours starting Monday, but this key makes it real." She clasped the key tightly, its weight heavier yet more comforting than she'd imagined. "Thank you," she murmured, blinking back the tears that threatened to spill over. Stepping outside, the sharp winter wind brushed against her face, but Kaela barely felt it. A sense of profound achievement enveloped her. After years of self-sacrifice and silent endurance, this moment was hers alone. Sitting in her car, Kaela held onto the key tightly, watching as it caught the afternoon sunlight, glinting gently. Her new life was within reach. But first, she had to confront her old one. Her palms grew damp just thinking of the conversation she'd soon have with her family, especially her mother's certain disapproval. Yet, Kaela knew there was no turning back now. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for the challenge ahead. Kaela took a steadying breath as she stepped through the front door. "I'm home," she called softly. "You're late again." Vivian snapped sharply from the kitchen. "It's Friday, Mom," Kaela replied calmly, removing her coat and hanging it carefully by the entrance. "More overtime?" Vivian demanded, irritation clear in her voice. "No," Kaela said evenly. "I had something important to handle. Can we talk after dinner?" Vivian hesitated momentarily. "Fine," she finally responded curtly. "After we eat." Dinner was, as always, consumed by enthusiastic chatter about Sienna's upcoming wedding. "Kaela, we picked the cake flavor," Sienna gushed excitedly. "Vanilla almond with raspberry filling. And the bridesmaids' dresses will be a lovely light blue. It's going to look perfect on you." "It sounds wonderful," Kaela said sincerely, offering a gentle smile. "I'm looking forward to it." And she truly was, despite the constant overshadowing reminder of her own quiet dreams and ambitions. As dinner came to an end, Gideon softly set down his fork, breaking the chatter gently. "You mentioned there was something you wanted to talk about?" Instantly, the atmosphere shifted. Vivian and Sienna turned toward Kaela, their expressions expectant. Kaela reached slowly into her pocket, heart pounding furiously, and carefully placed the brass key on the table. "I bought a house," she announced, her voice clear yet cautious. Sienna's eyes widened in shock. "You what?" Vivian's face darkened instantly, a storm brewing behind her cold eyes. "What do you mean, bought a house?" Kaela steadied herself, meeting her mother's gaze firmly. "I've been saving money for 10 years, Mom. Today I signed the final papers. I move in next week." The silence was deafening, broken only by Gideon's quiet acknowledgement. "That's unexpected, but congratulations, Kaela. I'm proud of you." Vivian, however, slammed her hand sharply onto the table, shaking the silverware. "Are you out of your mind?" she shouted furiously. "You're unmarried. What kind of woman purchases a home alone?" Kayla's voice remained steady, determination flashing in her eyes. "A woman who's building her own future." "A future for what exactly?" Vivian snapped bitterly. "You don't even have a husband yet. Women buy homes after marriage, not before. It looks disgraceful. What will people say?" "Things are different now," Kaela replied calmly. "Women live independently. It's perfectly normal." Vivian scoffed harshly, her face reddening with anger. "You've always been selfish, always chasing your own desires without considering your family's needs." "My money." Kaela tried to interject. "Your money," Vivian interrupted, her voice rising dangerously. "That money should have gone towards Sienna's wedding." Kaela stared at her mother in disbelief. "What?" Vivian stood abruptly, seething with rage. "We had plans. A grand wedding, over 300 guests, an elegant reception. It's natural for family to contribute." Kaela felt her chest tighten with incredulity and heartbreak. Kayla's voice shook with suppressed anger and hurt. "I've been saving that money for my future, not for a lavish wedding." "It's not just a wedding," Sienna cried out, tears glistening in her eyes. "It's the most important day of my life. How can you be so selfish and cold?" "Cold?" Kayla's voice cracked, raw with emotion. "I've sacrificed so much for this family. I took the job Mom wanted me to have, helped with bills, stayed when every part of me wanted to leave. And now you demand my entire life savings for a single day?" "Yes, exactly," Vivian snapped sharply, eyes blazing. "You're the oldest. It's your responsibility to support your sister's happiness." Kaela stood slowly, her determination unyielding. "I have the right to my own life." Vivian's voice hardened further. "If you walk out that door, don't even think of coming back." "Vivian," Gideon tried gently, but his voice was dismissed with a sharp wave. "I love you all," Kaela whispered, fighting tears, "but I won't sacrifice my dreams anymore for someone else." She turned slowly, gripping the brass key tightly, and moved toward the staircase. Behind her, she could hear Vivian's furious shouting and Sienna's sobbing, but she refused to falter. Upstairs, Kaela quietly closed her bedroom door, finally allowing herself to break down. For the next 2 days, she packed her belongings in silence, meals left untouched outside her door, ignoring repeated calls from her mother. Her phone vibrated constantly with missed calls, each one promptly silenced. She wished desperately for understanding, but deep down knew her family's attitudes wouldn't change easily. Monday morning arrived heavy and oppressive. Kaela left early for her shift at the hospital, exhaustion clouding her more deeply than usual. Zara noticed immediately, approaching her with concern. "You all right?" Zara asked gently. "You look drained." "I told them," Kaela admitted quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Their reaction was exactly as expected. Zara gently squeezed her shoulder. "I'm sorry. Remember, you're not alone." "Thank you," Kaela responded gratefully. "I'm moving this weekend." After work, Kaela found herself instinctively driving back to the family home. Not her new sanctuary, not yet. She needed vital documents, cherished keepsakes, and perhaps one final attempt at reconciliation. Seeing Vivian's and Sienna's cars in the driveway, her chest tightened with apprehension. Summoning her resolve, she walked slowly toward the familiar door. Stepping inside cautiously, Kaela softly called out, "I'm home." Silence greeted her for a tense moment before Vivian's voice broke through sharply from the living room. "We're in here." Kaela entered hesitantly, finding Vivian and Sienna rigidly seated on the sofa. Spread across the coffee table were wedding catalogs, detailed budgets, and scattered receipts. "Sit down," Vivian commanded, her tone firm and uncompromising. Kaela's stomach twisted uneasily as she obeyed, settling onto a chair opposite them. "We've discussed this as a family," Vivian began sternly. "And although we strongly disagree with your impulsive decision, we're willing to forgive you." "Forgive me," Kaela echoed, disbelief flickering in her eyes. "Yes," Vivian continued coldly, "but under one condition." Sienna silently handed over a printed estimate, her eyes red-rimmed and teary. "The wedding will cost nearly $50,000. And?" Kaela asked cautiously, dread creeping up her spine. "We want you to contribute at least $30,000 from the funds you used to buy that house," Vivian stated bluntly. Kaela stared at them, utterly stunned. "You can't be serious. I've already paid the down payment. The rest of my savings is for moving and starting my new life." "But it's your sister's special day," Vivian shouted sharply, eyes blazing. "As family, you have obligations." Kaela shook her head slowly, voice firm despite the tremor she fought to control. "Mom, I've saved carefully every month for 10 years, for my future, not anyone else's." Sienna began to cry quietly, wiping tears away. "Why are you acting like this? You've always been mature, supportive. Don't you care about me at all?" Kaela softened slightly, her voice gentle but unwavering. "I care deeply, Sienna, but true happiness doesn't come from an extravagant wedding. It comes from genuine love and commitment." Vivian stood abruptly, fists clenched at her sides, shaking with fury. "You always pretend to be noble, but you're selfish. You've never truly considered this family." Kaela rose slowly, anger and sadness mingling in her heart. "That money is mine. I earned it. I've made my choice." "Choice?" Vivian spat bitterly. "You were born into this family. Your selfish desires never outweigh family responsibilities." Kaela's chest tightened painfully. "I'm done feeling guilty for wanting my own life," she stated firmly. "I'm going upstairs. I only came for my things." "Wait," Vivian shouted, stepping in front of her. "We're not finished." "Mom, please." Kaela froze abruptly as Vivian grabbed a fistful of her hair tightly, eyes wild and frenzied. "You'll regret this, Kaela," she hissed venomously. In a sudden, horrifying motion, Vivian pulled out a lighter from her pocket, igniting a small flame. "Maybe this will teach you." Kayla's scream pierced the air as the flame touched her hair, sending searing pain through her scalp. Smoke filled the room, and she dropped to her knees, frantically slapping at the fire. "Mom, stop!" Sienna shrieked in terror. Seconds later, Gideon burst into the room, horrified. "Vivian, what are you doing?" he shouted, quickly grabbing a pitcher of water from the kitchen and dousing Kayla's smoldering hair. Water cascaded over Kayla's head, extinguishing the flames, but leaving her hair charred and uneven, the acrid scent of burnt strands thick in the air. Shaking violently and her face streaked with tears, Kaela whispered brokenly, "I'm never coming back." She rose slowly, clutching her ruined hair in trembling fingers. "Sis, wait," Sienna started desperately. "You've betrayed this family." Vivian spat harshly, her voice filled with venom. Ignoring their pleas, Kaela walked silently out the door, stepping into the cold night air and firmly closing the door behind her, severing herself from the life she had known. The following Saturday brought unexpected warmth and sunshine, a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil of the previous week. Kayla's new home stood proudly, framed by a charming white picket fence, with an old maple tree gently rustling in the yard. Her friends from the hospital arrived steadily, each carrying boxes and sharing reassuring smiles. "Where would you like this?" Zara asked cheerfully, holding a large box labeled kitchen. "The kitchen counter, please," Kaela responded, managing a sincere smile. 5 days had passed since the traumatic event, her once long and elegant hair now styled into a short, chic cut to mask the damaged area. A faint scar lingered at the edge of her forehead, a visible reminder of the deep emotional wounds beneath. "You've got a lot of people who care about you," said Eli, Zara's boyfriend, gently carrying in a bookshelf. "Thank you," Kaela replied quietly, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. Without the support of her friends, the past days would have been unbearable. By noon, laughter and the inviting aroma of fresh pizza filled the house. In the cozy living room, Zara raised her plastic cup, eyes sparkling with pride. To Kaela's courage and her new beginning. Cheers. Cheers, echoed joyously throughout the room. Suddenly, the doorbell chimed unexpectedly. Kaela opened the door cautiously, surprised to find Darian, Sienna's fiancé, standing solemnly on her porch. Darian, Kaela asked, puzzled. What are you doing here? We need to talk. Is now okay? He asked quietly, glancing behind her at the cheerful gathering. Kaela hesitated briefly, then stepped outside, closing the door softly behind her. They sat together on the wooden bench beneath the gentle shade of the maple tree. Sienna told me you spent the wedding fund on your house, Darian began cautiously. And she claimed you impulsively cut your hair. Kaela gave a bitter laugh. Is that what she said? She gently brushed her bangs aside, revealing the faint scar. Quietly, she recounted everything to Darian, the decade of sacrifice, her mother's violent reaction, and the terrifying ordeal she had endured. When she finished, Darian's face had turned ashen. Vivian really did that, he whispered, visibly shaken. Yes, Kaela affirmed sadly. And Sienna just stood there, watching. Darian stared silently at the distant street, his expression unreadable. She's been completely fixated on this wedding, he muttered, almost to himself. She constantly assured me, don't worry, Kaela will handle the expenses. Now I see what she meant. He paused, taking a deep breath, his eyes serious. There's something else you need to know. Darian lowered his voice, his expression thoughtful yet earnest. You run Innovative Living, the eco-friendly furniture company, right? Kaela blinked in surprise, momentarily speechless. How did you know about that? I work in construction design, Darian explained gently. Your name and designs have come up several times. My office frequently uses your furniture. Kaela's mouth fell open slightly in shock. I never mentioned it to anyone, not even my family. You should have, Darian replied with a reassuring smile. You're incredibly talented. Reaching into his coat, he pulled out an envelope, handing it to Kaela. I found this in Sienna's desk. It's your detailed plan for home repairs and a honeymoon gift. Kaela's breath caught, recognizing the familiar handwriting immediately. I left that behind months ago. She never even looked at it. She's only thought about herself, Darian said quietly, disappointment coloring his words. They sat quietly for a moment, the silence heavy and meaningful. Eventually, Darian spoke, his voice steady but resolute. I'm ending the engagement. What? Kaela gasped, startled. Don't you love her? I thought I did. Darian admitted softly, his gaze distant. But I can't marry into a family that condones greed and violence. Kaela regarded him with mixed emotions. You don't need to do this because of me. It's not just about you, Darian interrupted gently. It's about honesty and integrity. I need to stand by what's right. That evening, after everyone had left and Darian had departed to speak with Sienna, Kaela stood quietly on her porch, watching the sun slip below the rooftops. An unusual calm settled over her as she realized the past was finally behind her. In the weeks that followed, Kaela immersed herself in gentle, purposeful activity, painting her bedroom in calming shades of sage green, decorating her bay window with cushions and vibrant plants, and hosting cozy dinners with friends. Her business blossomed, attracting increasing local attention and praise. One afternoon, the quiet hum of her day was interrupted by the ringing of her phone. Seeing her father's name appear on the screen, Kaela hesitated before answering. Hello, Dad, she greeted softly. Hi, Kaela, Gideon replied, his voice gentle but weary. Can we talk? Of course, she answered, stepping into her sunlit reading nook. I met with a lawyer yesterday, Gideon began slowly. I've filed for divorce. Kaela's hand flew to her mouth, stunned. Dad, I've stayed silent too long, Gideon continued, his voice resolute yet tinged with sadness. After what Vivian did to you, I realized that was my breaking point. I need to start fresh. Kaela felt warmth swell in her heart, tears pricking her eyes. I support you, Dad. I support you, Dad, Kaela whispered softly, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you, Gideon responded gently, his voice wavering with heartfelt regret. I should have spoken up years ago. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you sooner. It's never too late, Kaela reassured him kindly. A thoughtful silence hung between them until Gideon finally asked, Have you heard about Sienna? Just a little, Kaela replied cautiously. Since Darian ended their engagement, Vivian's grand plans unraveled quickly, Gideon explained sadly. She's now facing judgmental whispers at church, and Sienna's colleagues have distanced themselves. She's heartbroken, and Vivian keeps blaming her for losing Darian. Kaela felt a pang of sorrow but remained resolute. I don't hate them, Dad, she said quietly, her voice steady. But I can't ever go back. I understand, Gideon said, his voice gentle and accepting. Maybe one day we can reconnect. You're always welcome here, Kaela said warmly, meaning every word. After hanging up, Kaela gazed around her home with deep satisfaction. Golden sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows, illuminating the beautifully crafted furniture she'd made herself. This was her sanctuary, a haven she had earned and created. Several months later, Kaela hosted a lively barbecue in her backyard, filled with laughter and spirited conversations among her closest friends. Children played freely, and Zara happily flipped burgers on the grill. Did you design this table too? Eli asked admiringly, running a hand over the smooth wood. Yes, Kaela replied proudly. All sustainably sourced. Her business, Innovative Living, had flourished significantly, so much so that she had recently hired 2 assistants and was planning to open a charming showroom. You've built something incredible, Zara complimented sincerely. Thank you. Kaela responded with heartfelt gratitude. It hasn't been easy, but I finally feel true to myself. Her now short, stylish hair curled lightly in the gentle heat, and the faint scar on her forehead seemed to glow softly in the sunlight, a proud mark of her resilience rather than a painful reminder. As the sun began setting, Kaela carried a slice of cake to the porch, savoring the cool evening breeze and the sweet songs of distant birds. Sitting on the familiar wooden bench, now adorned with inviting new cushions, memories of her difficult past drifted gently through her mind, softened by time and strength. She had built a new family through friends, mentors, and colleagues who valued her for who she truly was, not what role she could fulfill for others. Closing her eyes, she allowed the peace of the moment to envelop her. Kaela, we're cutting the cake. Zara's cheerful voice rang from the backyard. Coming. Kaela replied joyfully, standing and turning toward the laughter and warmth that now defined her life. As she walked across the soft grass, passing beneath the comforting shadow of the maple tree, its leaves whispered gently in the evening breeze, like small banners celebrating her victory. The tree had stood long before she arrived, but was now an integral part of her story, just like her cherished home, and the brass keys safely in her pocket. She felt confident, strong, and free, vowing silently never again to let anyone silence her voice.